With the stories of the God of Destruction Kakarot and the Broly that became Goku complete for now, it is time for us to discuss what would happen if these stories shared one universe. What if Goku was sent to Beerus' planet and Broly was sent to Earth? The beginning of our tale plays out the same way it did in both series. Paragus is able to redirect Broly's ship to Earth at the cost of his own life, while on Earth, Broly is raised by Grandpa Gohan until one night Broly sees the full moon and kills his adoptive grandfather by accident, leaving the boy alone on Mount Paozu for some time to come. 5 years after Broly first landed on Earth, Bardock has convinced Guinea to send their youngest child, Kakarot, away. He had his suspicions regarding Frieza's motives for collecting the Saiyans on planet Vegeta and wanted to save something for once, not just destroy. According to all scanners, the planet Bardock chooses has no notable life forms or power ratings, but it does contain plenty of wildlife for Kakarot to sustain himself off of. What Bardock didn't know is that God Ki is undetectable, and the God of Destruction Beerus was the owner of the planet he sent his son to. So Goku eventually arrives on Beerus' world, the Saiyan homeworld being wiped out while he was on his journey to the planet. Once he lands, his ship is discovered by Beerus, who thinks Frieza is getting bold. The God of Destruction readies himself to destroy the passenger, but is startled to find a Saiyan child inside. Beerus had just been told of the Super Saiyan God prophecy by the Oracle Fish, and because of this strange coincidence, it seems like divine providence, a fateful encounter with a Saiyan who will be raised on a god's world to become the Super Saiyan God and Beerus' greatest rival. This leads to Whis raising the Saiyan child while Beerus decides to sleep for the 39-year wait. Using his staff to peer into the past, he discovers the child is named Kakarot, and so that's what he will be called. A few years pass, and on Earth, Broly, who only knows his name as Goku, is eventually found by Bulma, who's hunting the Dragon Balls. Broly's journey across the Earth truly begins with this first interaction, a moment that will change his life forever. This is where things don't change for some time to come. I'm not going to repeat details from the other stories to not waste your time. If you want more information, please feel free to watch the original videos for either of these scenarios. The main changes start to happen around the Saiyan saga. As you should know, the Saiyans go to Earth or Beerus' planet depending on which scenario we're talking about. Considering the fact that it's Vegeta's idea to go to Earth and Raditz is the one who wants to go to Beerus' planet for his brother, the group would go to Earth since Vegeta is clearly the leader of the Saiyans. So the attempt to recruit Broly goes just the same as it did in the full story version of this scenario. On Beerus' planet, this does work against Whis, who had hoped that a suitable training partner for Kakarot would arrive in the form of the Saiyans. He's disappointed in their decision to go to Earth instead, but he still decides to keep an eye on the Prince, Vegeta, and the newly discovered Saiyan on Earth, Broly. They may prove to be useful in the future. So on Earth, Frieza arrives, and in the midst of a battle that is about to cost Broly his life, future Trunks arrives and saves the day. After a journey to Namek and an encounter with Cell in Jiro's lab, Broly goes on to reconcile his emotional repression in the battle against Perfect Cell, and is able to beat the genetic monster in a dramatic beam struggle where the Saiyan unlocks his version of the Super Saiyan form. Finally, the Buu arc comes along. Dabura and Babidi are just far outmatched by the heroes of Earth, and so they have successfully stopped the resurrection of Majin Buu. After thanking them for all their help, Supreme Kai and Kibito take the sealed shell back to the realm of the Kaioshin in the hopes that it could never open again. This is the opportunity that Whis was looking for. The angel gets in contact with the Supreme Kai and tells him that he should bring the monster to Beerus' world so it may be destroyed for good. Shin is excited by the offer and agrees, so the shell is teleported over, and Shin thanks Whis for his help. Whis can't interfere with mortal affairs, but guiding the actions of the gods is his direct role in the universe, so he hasn't broken any rules here. With the shell now on Beerus' world, Whis taps it with his staff and awakens Majin Buu from his slumber. Kakarot's task is to fight Buu without the use of God Ki, and while being weighed down considerably by Whis' custom-made weighted Saiyan training gear. So Buu and Kakarot battle for a long time. Days and maybe even weeks pass. Using his staff, Whis was able to keep Kakarot fully healed and fed, while Buu did just fine using his own magical regeneration. It's clearly making Kakarot stronger, and even more interesting is that Kakarot seems like he's having fun. Whis tried to suppress those Saiyan instincts as much as possible, but he couldn't entirely succeed in hiding who Kakarot truly is, who Goku truly is. Buu isn't an orthodox fighter, but he learns incredibly quickly, and because of that, he's making for a better training partner than Whis ever thought. Eventually, though, it becomes clear to Whis that Kakarot has no more left to gain, so he gives him permission to finish Buu off. Kakarot activates his God Ki, and with it is able to send Buu flying to the ground. He's ready to deliver the finishing attack, but just before he does, Kakarot realizes something isn't quite right and asks Whis why there's a godly presence coming from within Buu. Whis quickly flies over to inspect Buu and taps him with his staff, separating both the South Kaioshin and the Grand Kaioshin from Buu's body. Kid Buu begins to appear, but before he can fully manifest, Kakarot sends the technique Whis taught him at the monster, a Hakai. The two saved Kais are extremely grateful for their rescue, but are surprised to see Kakarot was the one who handled Buu. They ask if Beerus has been replaced, but Whis laughs and says no, that this is the person who's to become the God of Destruction's greatest rival. The two Kais are impressed by his strength, and they thank Kakarot for his help. He tells them not to worry about it, he enjoyed the fight, so saving them was just an added bonus. With the Kais back in the realm of the Kaioshin, we're now left with a 4-year time skip till the Battle of Gods. This is where Broly and Earth get a break, since Beerus is waking up to his prophecy being fulfilled right outside his home. Beerus eyes up Kakarot and congratulates him on mastering God Ki, but he tells the Saiyan that won't be enough to beat him, and Kakarot better win, since Beerus says he'll kill him if he doesn't. Kakarot and Beerus get ready to battle, but despite Beerus' best efforts, a version of Goku with decades of Whis' training and a mastery of Ultra Instinct is simply too much for the god to handle. Having threatened Kakarot with death before the fight began, the Saiyan doesn't hesitate to end Beerus in return. With Beerus taken care of and the reveal of Kakarot's God of Destruction outfit underneath his armor, it's immediately clear that Whis knew the winner of this battle would determine the new God of Destruction. He even prepared with the Grand Priest so Supreme Kai wouldn't be killed in the process. From here, Kakarot meets with the Kais and discusses the state of the universe as well as a plan to make it better, with Whis' guidance being used to better their plans when necessary. This eventually leads to the decision of surveying the universe. The Kais can do that from the realm of the Kaioshin and create new worlds as they deem necessary, while Kakarot can fulfill his role as destroyer and remove unwanted planets from the universe should they not change in a meaningful way. This plan takes the newly appointed God of Destruction across the universe, going from inhabited planet to inhabited planet. Eventually, he finds himself on a planet that seems more interesting than most, Earth. When they arrive, Whis decides to inform Kakarot of a truth that he's kept hidden for some time. There are more Saiyans alive, and they live here. Kakarot is shocked and a bit annoyed to hear that this has been kept secret for him for so long, but he drops it. His position as a god is far more important than any genetic attachments he may have to people he's never met. He can sense that the Saiyans are by far the strongest beings on the planet, so he decides to visit them in the hopes of finding a future for this world in the improved universe. Kakarot and Whis arrive outside of Capsule Corp, where they await Vegeta, Trunks, Chi-Chi, and Broly. When they exit, Whis introduces himself and introduces Kakarot as the God of Destruction. Vegeta is immediately shocked. He remembers that Beerus was a fearsome god that even Frieza didn't dare to disobey, and yet he was replaced by this Saiyan with red hair. Vegeta wonders if this could be the brother that Raditz mentioned years ago. He never said a name, but he thinks that it must be impossible, since that brother was a low-class Saiyan warrior, nothing like the imposing being standing in front of him right now. Vegeta introduces himself as the Prince of Saiyans, at least those that remain, and asks how he could be of help to the God of Destruction. While Vegeta and Kakarot are talking, Trunks is absolutely stunned. The pictures he'd seen years ago, the person he'd originally come here to save, was standing right in front of him. Even with red hair and the title of God in front of a different name, this was clearly Goku from this alternate timeline, somehow ending up in an entirely different circumstance. Trunks is too distracted by the revelation to notice, but Whis is eyeing Trunks very cautiously and eventually uses his staff to see what's off about him. That's when Whis finds out that Trunks is a time traveler. He interrupts Kakarot's conversation to tell him about Trunks, and now things have become serious. Kakarot walks away from Vegeta and towards Trunks. He asks Trunks why he time traveled. This is an act that is strictly forbidden by universal law, after all. Trunks didn't know it was illegal, illegal, but he explains his circumstance regardless and tells how he can't even go back to his own timeline even if he wanted to. He doesn't have a time machine anymore, and he doesn't know if his timeline even still exists. Kakarot sighs and apologizes for what he has to do. The god raises his hand, ready to destroy Trunks. Time travelers cannot be allowed to remain. This has taken a turn for the worse. Vegeta turns Super Saiyan 2 and attacks Kakarot, catching him off guard enough to push him back a little. He had thought Vegeta understood the mission to better the universe planet by planet, person by person, but it seems he was wrong. Attacking a god couldn't go unpunished. That's when another attack lands. It's Chi-Chi using her Kaioken times 20. This time, Kakarot is prepared for combat and knocks Chi-Chi away. Trunks transforms into Super Saiyan 2 as well and joins the fight, but it's just no use. Even with the three of them, they just aren't enough to beat the God of Destruction. That's when Kakarot can sense a power building behind him. He turns to see Broly is transforming into his Super Saiyan form on top of the Ikari form. This wasn't all he can sense though. A deeper power is building within the Saiyan. This one could be more trouble. Broly and Kakarot begin to fight, but in a way reminiscent of Kakarot's battle with Boo, Broly is growing with every single attack. This was a person who could push Broly to his true potential. With his emotional trauma being conquered since the Cell arc, all it was ever gonna take was someone strong enough to push Broly to his true limits. Without even realizing it, Broly transforms into his full power Super Saiyan form and is actually giving Kakarot a little bit of trouble. But he's had enough of these games and activates Ultra Instinct. With it, he's able to blitz Broly and easily knock him out. Kakarot tells them that they just cost this planet for the sake of one time traveler. A planet full of people who would openly defy the laws of the gods could be a nuisance in the future. With no one left to fight, this seems to be a clear end for the Earth, but that's when Supreme Kai appears in front of Kakarot. He tells the God of Destruction that Earth has been instrumental in helping the universe. These were the people who stopped Boo's resurrection, and the time traveler he detests so much was the one who killed Frieza, allowing the others to halt Boo's revival in the first place. Kakarot asks Whis if he knew about this, but Whis just jokingly remarks that Kakarot never asked him. Now Kakarot is even more annoyed. He apologizes to Earth's warriors and thanks them for their help in keeping the universe safe. Kakarot then asks Trunks if he can assure them that he will never time travel again. Trunks repeats that it's just impossible even if he wanted to, and he has no reason to anymore either. With that, Kakarot agrees to leave Earth alone so long as they are willing to continue helping with future threats, and they all agree. Then he adds that this will involve training like gods to best use their power. He'll come back for them when he's ready to do that. So, Kakarot and Whis leave Earth. There are some very minor differences going forward, such as King Cold's involvement and who Champa hires Hit to assassinate. It may even still be Broly, but those are truly so minor it's not worth tacking onto this video. The universe seems to be in a good place with Kakarot as its god of destruction, and Broly on Earth is able to live his days in peace along with the rest of his friends and family. Thank you so very much for watching.